Hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Michael and today we're doing a movie review. So I've recently watched the entirety of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and I just thought it'd be good to jump on and share my reflections on them. They're my favourite films of all time. I can talk about them all day and I just thought I might share my thoughts and reflections with you. Now if you normally follow my channel for indie publishing content, don't worry, that stuff will be back. I've got some things coming down the line, but since the book's been published now, these updates are going to be a little less frequent, just as the book goes out there and does its thing and gets reviews and stuff like that. But as I do new stuff like marketing, ads, that sort of thing, I'll be sure to jump on and update you on how those things went. But for the time being, I thought, why not try something a little bit different in the meantime, keep getting to speak to you guys, and just keep improving the content on this channel by making more of it. So without further ado, we'll jump in. So we're going to do these reviews in two different ways. So we're going to first rate them as films on their own, and then we're going to talk about them as an adaptation. Now as a film, I haven't got a lot much more to say than what's already out there. These films are universally loved. I'm a huge fan of them. I'm probably going to give them all 10 out of 10. Spoiler alert there, sorry. But I will talk a little bit about some of the stuff that I love. But mostly my thoughts will be on how they've been adapted and what that kind of means for the lore and just my general feelings on that. So we'll start just as like more of a general point. The Lord of the Rings films are just done with such care and attention to detail, it's just mind-boggling. I think the films have really benefited from the fact that they were able to be filmed back to back. So they just filmed all three of them at once, as opposed to we'll see how the first one goes, then we'll meet up again in 3 years later and we'll do the next one and the next one. That's normally how these things go, and the fact that The Lord of the Rings was able to just film everything in one bulk, it really shows that if everything flows so much better. You can see that every scene is thinking about how it ties into the next one. The costumes are just so linear and just everything feels really kind of natural and flows wonderfully. I'm not going to go into like, the acting in this scene, because the acting throughout is just perfect. There's no one that drops the ball. Every person who's in this movie just nails it. Costuming's the same. None of the costumes where I went, the Rohirrim didn't look how I imagined them, or the Gondorians. Perfect. Right across the board. Makeup design, the orcs, everything was just incredible. Just generally, for the first time watching these, I finally started to think that maybe the special effects are starting to look a little bit outdated. This is the first time I've ever watched these films where I've thought that. It's been a couple of years since I last watched them. That was purposeful. I wanted to wait and kind of try and get as fresh of a perspective as possible. And this is the first time that I've ever watched them and thought that looked a little bit, which is fine because they're almost 30 years old. So you would expect that. They're over 30 years old. Gosh, no, they're this years old. So, which is fine. So of course it's starting to look a little bit outdated. It should do, but the fact that it still holds up almost across the board just shows how much care and effort went into this. Costuming perfect, locations of New Zealand perfect, casting sensational. The fact that they were looking to get Sean Connery in.
Greetings.
I'm so happy that they didn't, and it was Ian McKellen. The fact that they filmed some scenes with another Aragorn, I can't remember the guy's name, I'll pop it here, but they actually started filming and then changed their mind and went for Vigo. Amazing, perfect treat. So generally, across the board, incredibly happy with everything in terms of the acting and all that side of things. So I won't go into too much detail on that either. What I will talk about is, I think, the Fellowship. So now we're talking about the individual movies and the reviews. And I think the Fellowship is probably the best structurally as a movie. It's not my favourite film, that's Return of the King, but as a narrative, I think it works the best. This is probably partly because all the characters are in one place, so you're just following their stories. They're not split up yet into 2-3 different groups. It's also the most akin to the books, so it follows the story of the books and the structure of the books as close as the other two films. Closer, and that certainly helps it. So as a film, if I feel like you have to watch these films as one, as they're just one huge film cut into three. But if you are having to rate them as individuals, then I think the first one, The Fellowship of the Ring, is the most kind of complete in terms of an arc. It just flows the best, I think, as a film. But it doesn't have an ending. It just kind of, ends, and then the next one, The Two Towers, just picks up where it started, where it left off. And that's why you have to kind of watch them as one. But other than that, I just think the flow of the whole story just works best. Now, if I was to rate this film out of 10, it'd be a 10 out of 10. It's got the right balance of like the drama, it's got like the way it starts, that kind of nice coziness to it. It's got little bits of comedy thrown in. The action's great, but not overdone. That's an issue in the later films. I'll talk about that. But nothing's kind of overdone, nothing's too cheesy, nothing's overplayed. So yeah, for me, the first film, easy 10 out of 10, just as a film. As an adaptation, this is where I start to kind of nitpick a little bit. So the third point I want to touch on is just some of the changes. If I did have to do a little bit of a nitpick, is where the director or the scriptwriter or whoever has started to kind of modernise it a little bit, which is fine because some of the language in The Lord of the Rings is quite flowery, but there's just a couple of scenes. So in this first movie, just at the end where Aragorn's like, let's hunt some orc.
Let us hunt some orc.
And it's just very like kind of action hero-y. It's not needed. There's the build up to that where it's like Aragorn is like, I will not let Merry and Pippin, be taken without chasing them or something. Why can I not think of the line? But anyway, it's a great line. It doesn't need the like action hero kind of Tom Cruise line at the end to get us riled up and interested in part two. So stuff like that, very nitpicky. I'm going to sound like I'm kind of being a bit bitchy, and I'm not. I love the movies, and I think, as I say, particularly the first book, the adaptation choices are spot on. The one I'll talk about one I agree with first, which is removing Tom Bombadil. Just the way that would affect the story. You start in the Shire, cosy, quaint, really nice start. Then to go into the Old Forest, getting chased by the Black Riders. Then to have that like kind of going back to that merry, jolly kind of feel with Tom Bombadil, and he's quite fun. Then to go to the Barrow-wights, and then to Bree, and then that peaks and troughs, I think would really affect the beginning of that story. And so just to have that kind of calmness of the Shire, then the jeopardy of going Bree, and then meeting Aragorn, arriving at Rivendell, just flows better without that kind of break in the middle of Tom Bombadil. The only issue I have with it is how it affects the lore. Now, this is just me with my book hat on, saying that there's a really important moment where they're trapped in the Barrow-wight, they're taken by the Barrow-wights, and they find these magical swords. They don't know they're magical at the time, but these swords were created with the one purpose to kill ringwraiths, particularly the Witch King. And so when Merry stabs him in the third film, that's significant. That kind of severs his tie to Sauron and the ring and makes it that he can be killed. And then Eowyn kills him. So to remove that just kind of messes with that lore, and so when the Witch King is like this formidable, no man can kill me, there's a reason behind that, and that's kind of tripped up by removing that part, but it's fine. Some of the other bits that I don't like about it is, and this is a problem throughout the books, but how they made the decision to kind of lessen some characters to build others up. I feel like two characters can both be up there and equally have their moments, but the movie has made the decision to kind of bring some down to make others shine brighter, and a big one of that is the Isildur stuff. And he's kind of made out to be like this kind of evil, the ring got him, he turned, and he got his comeuppance, and that's just not the case in the book. He does have the chance to destroy the ring, never to the point of like he's at the pit of Mount Doom, but after he takes the ring off Sauron, Elrond says, I think you should destroy it. Isildur makes the decision to keep hold of it and says, no, I'm going to take this as a blood price for the death of my father. And everyone there is pretty much like, all right, fair enough, like, probably not the best decision, but no one really knows the repercussions of what will happen and that Sauron might come back and all this stuff. But Isildur's never really corrupted by the ring. It never takes him. He's too strong, he's too noble for that. The ring even burns him because he's that kind of noble. And in the end, when he's ambushed by orcs in the Gladden Field, he's actually on his way to Elrond to say, you were right, we should have destroyed it, what are we going to do? So he's a very, very noble, and he's a much better man in the books than he is in the show. Now I can understand why they've changed it for the movie, because they kind of want Aragorn to have this arc of, you know, am I going to be the next Isildur, or am I going to go bad? Would the ring tempt me? All that, and that gives you that like kind of character growth. But one thing I love about the Lord of the Rings books is it doesn't need to do that. When we have the Fellowship, they're all the non-Hobbit characters. They're all very competent. They're all there. They don't need to grow as the story goes and learn new skills and learn things about themselves. You know, they're going on the most deadly quest imaginable to the worst place in the world. So you wouldn't send these kind of incompetent people or who've got these doubts. You would send the best of the best, and that's what happens in the book. You've got, you know, these essentially four members of royalty. You've got an elven prince, a really high up kind of dwarven person. You've got the son of a steward, like the heir to the stewardship of Gondor. You've got the heir to the throne of Gondor, the uncrowned king, and then you've got like an angel, essentially in Gandalf, a wizard. That's the kind of team that you would put together to go and do something like this. And then the hobbits are kind of there by chance, and that's like Gandalf's almost wild card, if you will. But everyone present in that meeting has had, or almost everyone, there's only really Boromir who hasn't had any contact with hobbits before, but the rest of them all kind of know. I think in the books there's this great moment where Boromir kind of makes a little jibe about Bilbo, as if to say, oh, who's this nutter? And then he realises everyone there kind of holds Bilbo in this like reverence and takes him really seriously, and he goes, oh, okay, hang on, maybe I've overthought this and missed something. So the books, the movies changed that, and so Aragorn has this like doubt, and I don't want to be king, I don't want it, blah blah blah. In the books, he knows his destiny. So that was just one of the kind of changes, one of the adaptation changes that I wasn't on board with. Lessening Isildur, lessening Aragorn, so that they have these kind of moments when it all comes good. So all those things being said, and probably the last, just to quickly touch on this last one, the way the movie opens is amazing. You get this expo dump, which is normally a big no-no, but the way it's handled is brilliant.
I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it.
But they changed one thing, so Isildur kind of cuts the ring from Sauron, and it's a moment of pure luck. But in the books, it's Gil-galad and Elendil the Tall versus Sauron in like a 2 versus 1, and Elendil's like nearly 8 foot tall, and they have this epic battle that lasts for days and days, and in the end they all kind of kill each other, and then Elendil just chops the ring off Sauron's finger whilst he's laying there practically dead. I understand why that didn't make the movie, because how do you top that if you showed this fighting scene? But I'm just really sad that I didn't get to see it on the TV, and hopefully if the Rings of Power gets to its end, then we'll see that. But all those things being said, as a film, 10 out of 10. As an adaptation, 9 out of 10. I understand the choices they've made. Don't agree with all of them, but I understand why they've done it. So yeah, stay tuned for the Two Towers review. That'll be coming pretty soon. And yeah, I'll see you then.